is price, and if he's not, if we're not getting, I don't want to name a price, but if we're not getting a very good price for him, 30 million, 35 million, I don't know why. I don't know why we wouldn't keep him around, because he does have a brilliant final ball. I think he's something that we don't have in the squad in terms of those whipped crosses. He really is, in certain game states, I think he could be really, really useful for us. I look at that group of Erdegaard, Vieira, and Nwaneri, and I think there's a lot there. There's a lot there as a sort of the right-sided eight. My point is, I just think that let's be open to Zubimendi and Rice plus. I just feel, I don't think Max Down was going to play a massive, massive part next season.
Tranquillo, but big future.
Yeah, big future. But yeah, look, I just think with Vieira, when we have a creativity and final ball issue, I think, if you look at the numbers, he's literally just isolating that skill. He was up there with De Bruyne and Trent in terms of how threatening his final ball was. I think it's worth keeping around. The thing is, in every window, there's for me, there's things you have to do, there's things you would like to do. Have to do, want to do, would like to do, and that's a would like to do for me. I'd like a creative midfielder, but we can get through. You have to sign a forward, too, I would say. You probably want to get another defender in, and it would be nice to get a creative midfielder, because I think we have enough.
I think you're bang on the money. It'd be nice. It's a bit of a humbling experience in my 30 years going from Wenger, where I used to beg him for no more creative players, where we're shoehorning them out wide, where it's a bit of a rarity. You mentioned the Madrid game, and just in line in this conversation, it made me think about individual brilliance and stardust. Now, obviously, everybody knows what that is. Good players can turn games in their head. Me and Alex have spoken about this before. I do think there's an element of, quite frankly, when shit just hits the fan at Arsenal, when everything's terrible, can we get out of jail? Games we deserve to lose, can we go and nick them? Maybe because of individual brilliance or whatever. Now, you mentioned Real Madrid, and it's on brand, because I do think in an ideal world, they're the kind of games that Mikel Arteta would like, in that, when he says all the best team in the Champions League and all the statistics, and I know someone made a joke about Phil Tilt, all of that reflects what we saw, which was domination and competitiveness. Then you've got the romanticness, where nobody saw Declan Rice scoring a scream of a free kick, not once, let alone twice. Do you think it's a thing where either the players, I'm not expecting them to score free kicks, but they need to do that, take the mantelpiece on their own and do that? Or do you think Mikel Arteta has to kind of pull back the shackles with what he wants from a system and kind of let the individuals thrive, particularly in the final third? Where would it be for you?
I think it comes back to, I think Mikel can do certain things that I've spoken a lot about.
Some say micromanagers.
Yeah, I possibly, and we are very static in the final third. I really noticed that against Liverpool, because they're so fluid. We're so static in the final third, but also we're playing with players that we probably don't want to be out there. I think a lot of this comes back to talent. Look, Mikel can do certain things. I think our ability to turn turnovers into shots is something in the stats that I would love to see change. I think we don't move the ball quick enough in the final third. We don't take enough shots. There's a lot of things that are on the system. But if you change 2 out of 3 of your front 3, then I think that a lot of that changes. So I do think
dynamic changes.
A lot of that comes back to talent. If you go and get a Šeško and a Nico Williams, and you have a fresh Havertz and you have a fresh Martinelli and all those sorts of things, I think you can create a really exciting front 5 who are sort of coming in. If you look at what Liverpool do, they have so many options in Gakpo and Salah and Diaz and Jota and whatever. They keep them fit and they're rotating them constantly, and they're saying, right, you go on for 30 minutes, you do this, and they can run. And we can't run at the minute, which is a big thing. So yeah, I do hear the system arguments, and there absolutely is some of that. Like please don't get me wrong, but I also think if you change, as I say, change 2 of the front 3, something's going to shift.
Where do you I want to get into the Berta stuff in a minute, yeah, but where do you see Berta? Because on one hand, do you think, in fact, first thing, do you think we're putting too much faith in Berta? Because obviously the track record speaks for itself. We've not been happy with the transfer market. Clearly, Mikel Arteta, whether people like him or not, he needs help. Are we putting too much faith in him? And if we are, and it doesn't work out, do you think he's a potential fall guy?
Well, it sounds like you've got some faith in him. You said it.
I've got bare faith in Berta, man. It's something new. Look at it. I've not seen an interview. Just straight business.
Yes, it's strange, isn't it? Because we would have thought he would, and it's something I actually wanted from a new sporting director. I think we were speaking about last time. I wanted a bit more communication, which is a shame. But yeah, we'll see. Ultimately, what matters more is what he does. Yeah, look. You look at the track record, and you look at the comments, and you look at the work so far. I think Berta is at least going to position us better. I think in terms of in the market, I think something that people, look at like the Gyökeres links or the Zubamendi, whatever it is. I feel like when he first came in, there was a lot of links that came out, and we were going, whoa, okay, Christ.
Things change quickly.
Yeah, and I think we'll have a slightly more contacts led and slightly more, okay, who's doing what are you doing? Like, I want to be involved in I don't think we're going to get him, but my point is, where's Florian Wirtz going? When Jude Bellingham was on the table a couple of summers ago, where's he going? It's those sorts of conversations. I'm not saying we're to get them, but I want Arsenal to at least be in, when you see so-and-so is in the race, I would love that, because in the end, at the top level, it's about talent. And I look at like someone like a Dean Huijsen, and I was really pleased that we were in that race. Actually, we did a scouted episode on him, looking at him on
check that out
thanks, mate, on Scout, and he looks really, really good. Like, he's so smooth on the ball. He's really crisp. I think honestly, there's some fullback versatility as well there. Like, I could have seen that. Obviously, he's an aerial target. He's his balls through the lines are fantastic. He's great off both feet. Like he's a line leader. He's going to be one of the next best centre backs in the world. So I'm really pleased that no matter
against us.
Exactly. No matter the situation, £50 million in 3 installments, you could have 6 more William Salibas and Gabriels. You need to be in that race. You know what I mean? It's just that's the best talent. So yeah, for me, I'm pleased that we were in that conversation, because I'm not sure we would have been before, maybe without Berta. But yeah, we'll wait and see. Look, he, as you ask, I think he could become a fall guy, but ultimately, I don't think he. If Arsenal fall short again next year, I don't think anyone's going to be saying this is all on Andrea Berta. We're going to be looking at the whole project and going, here we are again, basically.
I got to ask you the question then. If we don't win the trophy next year, what happens to the gaffer, man?
It obviously does depend how it happens, but like the window of like how it happens is closing and closing and closing and closing.
Getting to bottom line business now.
Yeah. I think it becomes very, very hard to see a path forward, is what I'd say. It will then become about who's available, where the squad's at, who's moving on, who's staying. Like it would become a case of kind of, okay, how do we rejig this? Because it may well be we go.
I like Cesc Fabregas. I'll throw that out there.
Yeah, he certainly speaks well. Look, we can't. In the same way with players, we shouldn't get attached to a manager. We have to look at what's happening, and we have to get serious about what we need to do. But yeah, I honestly like it. I just have to wait to see how the year shakes out. I don't know. I can sort of imagine myself next summer, if he hasn't won something, going maybe like Arteta isn't the guy potentially, but
maybe you're the Xavi and we need a Hansi Flick. That's not a disrespect.
Possibly. So, but I would have to. It's very hard to think a year ahead and go, okay, well that's happened. I don't know, basically.
I think you're bang on the money, and all my hope is with going back to Berta. I don't want to exaggerate, and I don't think Berta will ever be in the same conversation as someone like a David Dein. But I think definitely post David Dein, you've got to probably be our most important person in that regards. And I do think there's like kind of what we're talking about. It's not just Arteta or Berta or even Edu or the players. It's more the culture of the football club. And I don't think one man can change that in a matter of months, nor do I know if this will be the summer where we'll say it's the Berta summer. But I have to caveat that with, I do think people behave at times like Mikel Arteta is a bit of a damsel in distress, in which I hear it, he's been short-strawed a lot of the time at times. But if you didn't believe you could do what you need to do at this football club, you wouldn't have signed for the club. You wouldn't have signed a new deal for the football club. So where do we go with that? Where it comes to Berta, I hope Arteta and Berta are kind of at level headings. And what I mean by that is, if Arsenal was a family and the Cronkies were obviously, the dad, it has felt for all of Edu's faults that Mikel Arteta is the prodigal son. He's the golden boy, a bit like Gabriel Magalhaes and Saliba, depending on who makes mistakes. And it does feel like at times Arteta hasn't got his way, but a lot of the times he has. I hope him and Arteta are at an equal footing, in the sense that I think this summer, bro, has to make sense. By all means, I'm not against Arteta if he wants projects, if he wants another Marino, Kai Havertz kind of guy. But I think Berta has to push back and say, do you know what? We just need a number 9. Regardless of how you jig it about deep blocks and all of that, the guy needs to be able to score goals. The wingers need to be able to take people on, just kind of strip things back. Even going back to this Garcia lad at Espanyol, I like him in goal. But if there is a case of our budget doesn't accommodate having to spend 30 million euros, can we pivot? That's where I'm looking at Berta, and that's where I'm looking at the whole club, because honestly, I think the club have let the fans down, and I think the players have been let down. I think Arteta, you've done a lot wrong and a lot right, and I think people above you, the only one that I would absolve is Berta. I want to ask this question on screen. Sorry. He's obviously a City fan. Big up Low Fat, Mo Fat, what a name. But he has said, I've answered this before, but are Arsenal underachieving? Do you expect more, or is this the norm for Arsenal competing and just being a good team? Where are you at with that?
It depends,
It's like a techie one.
You can take it many different ways. You could say, well, have we got the highest net spend over the last 5 years? No. So what's our wage bill? I think we all know we're underachieving for ourselves, right? Like we have
%.
We have seen the level of this team. Which is why I think people are willing to be a bit more like, actually, okay, right, come on, like let's see us after a proper summer, like with some proper signings, etc. Because I do, we see the City 5-1 game, we see the Real Madrid game, we see we see how we dealt with PSG in certain aspects.
Flirting with success, man.
Yeah, we're really close. It's like I don't think anyone thinks we're not close. It's just basically the question is, you're so close. Do you want to rip it up and start again, or do you want to go again, basically, and try and go through that pain? But right now we're in pain, aren't we? We're in a lot of pain, and it's really frustrating. Yep. It's hard to say overachieving or underachieving. I don't know, but I think you can only look at yourselves. But even within looking at yourself, you have to consider what other teams are doing around you and the ambition level they're showing, and go, okay, I'm looking at myself and I'm going, I'm not achieving for myself, and I'm not doing this. But then, am I giving myself the conditions that other teams are? Am I in the conversations for the best talents in the world? Am I being as ruthless as I can with contracts and players and those sorts of things? And I don't know if we always are. Yeah, I mean,
this comment killed me.
Why have you got 4 cups?
I had 2 cups of coffee, and I thought, you know what? Let me just combine them. I like the look of it. I don't know, man. I'm quite childish like that, man.
You're gonna end up with 7, 8, 9.
Yep. Costco knows I'm a regular offender for buying these kind of cups, man. Friendly Anaconda, what
Arsenal, to be fair.
and that's what sucks, man. And I think you're right. And I think the biggest praise and biggest criticism I can give our football club is I genuinely think we're our own worst enemies. I'm not here to say we're the biggest and baddest, but as crap as we might have been in comparison to the other years, we flirted with getting into a final. Now, we didn't get over the line. I think we shot ourselves in the foot in 2 semi-finals. I think it was commendable against Real Madrid. I felt a bit of a mixed bag, kind of what we've been talking about, kind of led to our demise against PSG. But there was an element of, I just think our best is not enough. Like, it's just not enough. It just comes down to individual brilliance and quality. You look at the first 20 minutes against PSG in the second leg, who knows? We score goals and have a striker, or players convert chances. It's a very different conversation. Now, kind of what you said, and I think you're bang on the money at the beginning in that, obviously, if key players are missing, everybody's going to be in trouble. But it just feels like one player missing or one player being out, it means we have to rejig things like you saw in the first leg against PSG versus away from home. And we kind of struggled. And these are going to be factors, but these are the things that kind of need to change. Like, I must admit, maybe I'm looking at it as a bit of pub chat, but if I share my screen with you, I'm not saying I want to be in a Conference League final or Europa League final or whatever, and I definitely hope these not lose, but we're obviously we ain't in the final, bro. Like, we're not in the final. Like, we're not winning the trophy this year, and it sucks, because I must admit, I'm quite pessimistic on the Champions League. But when we beat Real Madrid, you couldn't help but flirt and think, you know what, 180 minutes from a final, you just never know. Like, how does this make you feel that we're not in the final?
I mean, I can't even count it as the fact that Spurs are going to win a Europa League.
Yeah, no, forget that. We're United fans for that.
It's obviously annoying. I mean, only one of those is guaranteed a win, maybe 2 with Chelsea. But yeah, it's painful. It's painful, but yeah. So there's no other way around it. It's really painful. But the only answer to that is to ensure, to guarantee, to leave no stone unturned to ensure that doesn't happen again. Like, the job of turning margins in your favor is not, you know, basically go again and do this. We're so close, so we just do the same thing again and it'll turn for us. No, make it impossible for it not to turn your way.
Maximize what you can maximize, bro.
And that is being really, really, really ruthless with talent, unfortunately, and really ruthless with ourselves, and really ruthless with our system and our players and our contracts and every aspect of Arsenal. Just we have to be, and you know, it's not like being ruthless isn't looking at certain players and going, yeah, but if you did this and did that, and yeah, but you know, what about this? And but he had a good seat.
No.
Like,
we're holding too many players' hands now, man. Like, let's be brutally honest. Like, you're all good guys. I'm not saying, you know, run you out of the club and whatever, but we need to be cruel to be kind. We need to be not necessarily harsh on individuals, but harsh on the problem. There's too many fair weather players here, unfortunately, and they're not picking themselves and whatnot. But it's simple maths. We've got over 100 goals in all comps. We know we spread the goals around and things of that ilk. But when it truly, truly matters, backs are against the wall. Who is getting the goals? Who is standing up to be counted? This is just the reality. Like, it's the same 3, 4, 5 players that we know are going to give us a certain level. And shout out to Miles Lewis-Skelly. He's already become one of our more consistent players, which, again, if I was a more significantly experienced teammate of his, I would feel a bit of a way sort of thing. And that brings me on to this year. Obviously, Miles Lewis-Skelly wasn't included in the young player of the season, and William Saliba was. Where are you at with that?
He should have been. I don't understand the rulings. I don't understand what 24-year-old player. Like, okay, I get it. He was 23 at the beginning of the season, but
yeah, like,